Okay, like we discussed yesterday, there are two things. One is the magnitude of an earthquake.
Yes, sir.
The second is an intensity of an earthquake. Okay. I briefly told you the difference
So voice
between ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಹಲೋ ಹಲೋ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ?
It's audible, sir.
Clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll continue. Okay, so continuing, intensity and magnitude. Like I said yesterday, intensity is something that cannot be, measured per se using a mathematical equation or a formula. It is more or less a relative and subjective thing depending on who the person is and how he's felt things. Okay, so intensity is purely qualitative and not quantitative. And this, like I said again, remember that bulb example I said, closer you sit to the bulb, brighter is going to be the light that falls on you. The farther you move away from it, lesser is the intensity of light that is going to strike on you. Similar is the case with the earthquake. Places closer to the epicenter are going to record high intensity, whereas places farther away from the epicenter are going to record low intensity. Next, this intensity, there is a certain thing called as modified Mercalli scale. Okay, in the scale when we measure things, we measure it based on the damage that is occurred to things. Okay, I'll show you the scale in a little while. For now, just understand it is a comparative scale. One second, I'm getting a call from the office. Hello? Keli ma'am? ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಿಂಟ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಂಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ. ಅದೇ ಅವಾಗಲೇ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅವನಿಗೆ, ಅವನೇ ನಾನು ಬಂದು ತಗೊಂತೀನಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬಂದು ತಗೊಂತೀನಿ ನಾನು. ಹಾ ಸರಿ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್. ಓಕೆ ಡನ್. Okay, whereas magnitude is quantitative, as in you measure something on the ground and then you use that value, substitute in a formula and get an actual value. So this magnitude for an earthquake is going to be common irrespective of wherever you measure. Okay, so under magnitude again, there are various ways of calculating magnitude. There are about 4 or 5 ways. I'll tell you what all the 5 ways are, but in the class we'll solve problems on say 1 or 2 types. Okay, next. Talking about your intensity again, like I said, there's something called as modified Mercalli scale. Okay, so I'll quickly run to that. If you can see the table on the right, okay, your modified Mercalli scale is indicated by Roman numbers. Okay, from Roman number 1 to Roman number 12. So when we talk about intensity, it has to be one of these numbers. It cannot be 1.5, it cannot be 1.6. It has to be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It has to be a whole number represented by Roman numbers from some number between 1 and 12. Okay. How do we assess what the intensity is? Look at the description there in the middle column. Okay. Say take intensity 3 for example. It is felt noticeably indoors, but not always recognized as an earthquake. Standing autos rock slightly, as in the vehicles might vibrate or rock slightly, and if you're in a moving vehicle you might feel the vibration. Now come to something that is slightly higher. Say go to intensity 7. Everybody runs outdoors. Damage to building varies depending on quality of construction, noticed by drivers of automobiles. Now go a little higher. Say go to intensity 8. Panel walls thrown out of frames, as in maybe your windows will dismount themselves on the walls and then fall out, or your window glasses might crack. Okay, monuments, chimneys, stands, mud is thrown out of the buildings. Drivers and autos are definitely disturbed. Now move to something more higher. Say go to 10. Most masonry and frame structures destroyed, ground is cracked, railway lines are bent, and landslides will occur. Now go to the last one. There is total damage. Waves are seen on ground surface. Line of sight and level is distorted. Objects are thrown up in the air. Okay. So like I said, this is purely subjective. And this also depends on a lot of factors like what is the population in that area. Suppose an intensity of say 8 earthquake or 9 earthquake strikes somewhere in the middle of a desert in Rajasthan. There is no real way of measuring that intensity there because one, there are no people there. Two, there are no buildings there. Three, there is nothing that can, get, there is no population or construction as such that gets damaged for you to look at and tell, oh, this intensity, this damage has occurred, so it must be this intensity. Okay. So intensity is not really a very scientific way of measuring earthquake. That is why we normally resort to magnitude. Okay. So why is the scale called modified Mercalli scale is, before this there was something called as Mercalli scale. It only went from Roman number 1 to 10. So over the years, few other researchers have joined and collaborated and developed this modified Mercalli scale. Now, for intensity, this is a standard accepted practice to use modified Mercalli scale. So if someone asks you what is a scale that is used to determine the intensity of an earthquake, you have to say modified Mercalli scale only. You cannot say Mercalli scale because that is a little outdated. Okay. Next, Richter scale, you guys probably know this. It is a logarithmic scale of measurement, meaning if I have a earthquake of magnitude 5, okay, and I have an earthquake of magnitude 6, the earthquake of magnitude 6 is 10 times more, worse than an earthquake of magnitude 5. Similarly, 7 is 10 times more worse than 6. So like 7 is 100 times more worse than 5. So it is basically everything to log to base 10. So this thing you need to remember. It is not natural log. It is log to base 10. Okay. So intensity. How strong does it feel to the observer? It depends on, like I said, a lot of features. One, distance from the epicenter. Okay. Two, the sort of soil strata there. If it is a rocky area or a soily area or a sandy area, if it is rock, obviously the ground motion transferred is more because hard rocks tend to move more. Okay. If it is sand, there might be certain dissipation or attenuation that might occur. So even if it is closer to the area, you might not feel it with the same intensity as it was if it was a rock. Next type of building. If you have probably a tall building which is, ductile detailing has been done really well, the building might sway a lot but not really get damaged. Okay, whereas if you have a short masonry structure where, there is very less ductility and it is a very brittle structure because it's entirely masonry, and, masonry cannot really take flexural loads. So such cases, those buildings might collapse more easily. So type of the building. Next, observer. So some people might be more sensitive to, ground shaking or a lot of other things. So what you feel is strong might not be strong to me. Okay, it might just feel like a jolt to me. So it depends from observer to observer. And like I said, place to place again. And the last thing is, like I showed this table here. Okay. So as far as intensity is concerned, this is all you need to know. Okay. Roman number 1 to 12. These are the different things. Maybe in the quiz, what might happen is I can give you the statement that is there in the middle column and ask you identify the intensity of the earthquake based on the description provided. Okay. And I'll tell it is felt by all, many frightened and run outdoors, falling plaster chimneys and small damage. What is the intensity? You will have to gauge 5 or 6 and give me a number there. Okay. So quickly, I'll share this later on. Maybe you can sit down and go through each point individually. I'll not read everything from 1 to 12 now. Okay. So going ahead, this is a quick comparison between the magnitude of an earthquake and an intensity of an earthquake if they can be correlated. I mean, again, we're not telling this is the direct correlation, or how do I say this? It's not necessary that a magnitude earthquake between 1 and 3 should have an intensity of 1, or it does not mean that a magnitude of earthquake 7 and higher has to have an intensity of 8 or higher. Okay. Suppose this magnitude 7 or higher earthquake has happened in Japan, and you're trying to measure the intensity somewhere close to the, say, Indo-China border here, it is obviously very far away. The intensity you feel might be less. Okay. So this is not, how do I say this? This is not like a direct correlation, just a comparative analysis. Okay. Not a lot of science behind this. However, a few textbooks have provided a few formulas to calculate the intensity of an earthquake at the epicenter. Okay, I'll share that formula with you in a little while. So now just remember, this is a very vague comparison. Okay, next. If everyone is clear with intensity, we can move on to magnitude. Okay, like I said, in magnitude we have four types: the local magnitude, seismic moment magnitude, surface wave magnitude, and body wave magnitude. So I'll quickly tell how to calculate each. Local magnitude is simply a function of displacement that is observed on the ground. Okay, so if I take a point A, before earthquake, if it is at location A, and after the earthquake is moved to another point B, say 100 mm away from the initial position, you use that distance 100 mm to find out the local magnitude. Simply log of 100 plus a distance correction factor. That is all, nothing else. Okay. Second method is seismic moment magnitude. Here you will be using the shear strength of the rock there, okay, the amount of slip that is observed and the area of the slip. Third, surface wave magnitude. Here you will be using the waves, the surface waves. What are the two surface waves? The Love wave and Rayleigh wave. I'll explain this with the help of an example. Last one is body wave. You use only P and S wave. So in a way, your body wave and local magnitude are more or less similar in terms of how it is calculated. Okay. Now, amongst these four methods, your seismic moment magnitude method is the most accurate method. Okay, because it does not reach saturation, as in there is no upper point to it. Because it depends on the amount of slip and the shear strength of the rock and the area of the fault that has occurred. Okay, so this graph is basically trying to compare how well the other magnitudes compare as compared to your moment magnitude. Okay, so in this graph, if you see this solid straight line that is there, that is for the moment magnitude, MW. Okay. Now, if compared to your moment magnitude, look at your MB here. Okay, this MB is your short period body wave magnitude. It sort of reaches saturation somewhere around 6 point something, meaning no matter how big the earthquake is, it cannot measure values beyond 6 point something. Okay, so maybe if we calculated it using some other method, you would have gotten a higher value. But since we're using this short period body wave, it is giving us a lower value. Now come to your Richter scale local magnitude. This also reaches a saturation at somewhere around 7 point something. Okay, so this is again bad. So it is not a realistic measurement of what has actually happened, at the site. So say about until 1960s, all the calculations that were made were actually using local magnitude only. So if you go back and look at all the historical data of the earthquakes, there are very few earthquakes with magnitude greater than 7 point something pre say 1950s. Okay, the reason was not that there was no major earthquake. The reason was that the method using which they calculated was not really accurate. It reached a saturation. So based on historical ground data and later point, if they've gone and measured the fault area, they would have calculated what the actual magnitude is, and that is why you get those numbers such as 9 these days for those old earthquakes. Okay, so compared to your moment magnitude, the magnitude that comes closest in terms of not reaching saturation is the surface wave magnitude. Okay, but again, measuring the surface wave magnitude is slightly difficult. I'll tell you why in a little while. Okay, so for now, if someone asks you what is the best method to find out the magnitude of an earthquake, it is moment magnitude method. Okay, what is the worst method? It is your body wave method. That, to be more specific, short period body wave method. Okay, next. Typically, in any formula that is used to calculate the magnitude of an earthquake, it will look something like this. Okay, your magnitude is going to be a function of amplitude of ground motion, and there will be a component of time period, and there is going to be at what depth the earthquake has occurred, and at what distance from the epicenter you are measuring the thing, and a correction factor. See, this can be distance correction factor, it can be soil type correction factor, it can be anything. So this is not an exact formula for anything. I'm just telling this is a general, what do you call it? A general form of an equation that sort of represents all these four types of magnitudes. Okay. So a typical accelerogram or time history data will look like this. Like we discussed yesterday, the first wave to arrive will be P, and then your S wave, and then your surface waves will start. Okay. So that is all. Next. So let's start. Well, let's go one by one for each of these. Maybe you can take down the formulas for each of these because we'll need them to solve problems later on. So the first magnitude we have is your Richter scale magnitude, or what we also call as local magnitude. Okay. So this local magnitude that we measure it using something called as Wood-Anderson seismograph. Okay. So remember Wood-Anderson seismograph. And like I said again, if I have a magnitude of earthquake 1, it is probably due to a ground amplitude of 0.001. Okay. If it is 2, so basically I'm trying to tell is as the magnitude jumps by 1, it is 10 times more. So 0.001 into 10 is 0.01. So the ground motion felt or observed or measured is 10 times more. So remember this. So in terms of earthquake energy that is released, between one magnitude to another magnitude, there is a 31.66 times increase. Or between two magnitudes, there is a 1000 time increase. So this earthquake energy, I'll come back to this in the last slide and show you how to calculate that number. Okay, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 33-fold increase ಅಂತಿದಲ್ವಾ. This is an approximate number. The exact number is 31.66. It is square root of 1000. Okay, remember that. So that is how your Richter scale is measured. Coming to the formula, it looks something like this. So a local magnitude or your Richter scale magnitude is log to base 10 of amplitude of ground motion. Two things to remember. This amplitude of ground motion should always be in millimeter only. Remember, millimeter only. If the question it is given in micrometer, convert to millimeter. It is given in meter, convert to millimeter. If you don't substitute amplitude in millimeter, you're going to get a wrong value. Okay. Next, you need to apply something called as a distance correction factor to this. Okay. This distance correction factor is given by a table. I'll show you the table in the next slide. This is the table. Okay. So this delta that you can see is the distance from the epicenter. Okay. The farther you move away from the epicenter, greater is the distance correction factor that you need to apply. Okay. Now quickly coming back to this. So that is your equation for Richter scale or local magnitude scale. Okay. Log to base 10 of amplitude plus distance correction factor. Next. So that distance correction factor that we saw here, can you see this term here? Some textbooks, like for example, Bozornia and Bereto, instead of using the table value from the table directly, they've sort of developed another equation to calculate that. Okay, so you can use 3 log to base 10 of 8 times delta t. Okay, the time interval between arrival of P wave and S wave minus 2.93. So if you do this, okay, you will get a value that is more or less similar to your distance correction factor table. But the only thing you need to remember here is, for you to use this formula, you need to know that time interval between arrival of P wave and S wave, the delta t value. Okay, if you don't have that value, you can't use this formula. You'll have to use the value from the distance correction factor table. Okay, now again, so I've written two formulas here just to show that each textbook author represents it in a different way. So this top equation that you see is a direct screenshot from Pankaj Agarwal. Okay, so instead of saying plus distance correction factor, he calls it something called as minus log of A naught. Okay, and he is given a table for minus log of A naught. The only difference is the table will be exactly identical to this, but in the table it will be minus 1.4, minus 1.5, minus 1.7, etc. So when you go back and substitute, class ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೀನಿ, ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. Okay, so When you go back and substitute these minus values in this equation again, it will become minus of minus log A naught. So it is effectively log A plus some distance correction factor only. Okay. So when you look at something like this, do not panic and don't take the value from here and subtract it from there. It is wrong. Okay. Look at what the equation is and what the distance correction factor is. If it is negative here, the distance correction factor is also going to be negative. Or if you take this equation, this is from Basagna and Bereto. There he tells it is ML is equal to log A plus your distance correction factor sigma of delta directly. And the table will be given like this. So it is positive here. Okay, understood? So depending on where you're solving problems from, be careful when you're solving. So it will always be log to base 10 of the amplitude of ground motion plus the distance correction factor here. Now this table, if you get the epicentral distance to be something like 111 kilometers, you'll have to do linear interpolation between these 2 points and use that value. Okay. Next. Okay. 2 and 3 more things to remember here. So I told you that we use this Wood-Anderson seismometer, correct? So this Wood-Anderson seismometer, the way our Richter guy developed this equation is, he says the local magnitude of 3, okay, of 3. Okay, this local magnitude of this 3, this number that you see here, 3, corresponds to an earthquake at a distance of 100 kilometer with an amplitude of 1 mm. Understood? So take this formula now. Which formula? Take this formula now. Okay. Substitute 1 mm in this equation. What is log of 1? What is log of 1?
0.
Correct.
0.
Now go to your table and look at the distance correction factor for 100 kilometers. How much is it?
3.
Correct. So your local magnitude will be 0 plus 3 is 3. Okay. This is your ML. That is how you get, or that is how we defined local magnitude as. He tells at a distance of 100 kilometer, if an amplitude of 1 mm is felt, then the magnitude of earthquake is 3. Understood how he defined that equation there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So key thing, you can never forget this. This is star. Okay. Next, look at the first paragraph here. So he says the standard Wood-Anderson seismograph has a natural period of 0.8 seconds. Okay. Okay, of 0.8 seconds. And a critical damping of 0.8 and an amplitude amplification factor of 2800. Okay, this amplification factor is also sometimes called as static amplification factor. Remember this. Okay, so what I'll do now is all the problems that I solve in the class, okay, I will do it for a standard Wood-Anderson seismometer. Okay, for values that has this seconds damping ratio of 0.8 and an amplification factor of 2800. What I want you to do is go home and find out how this formula will vary. Okay, if any of these values is not this but something else. Understood? If there is an open book test, I'll definitely give a twisted question in which it will not be a standard Wood-Anderson seismometer. I've sent you all the textbooks. Sit and read all of them. Find out how to modify this equation based on what will happen if these values change. Aita? So that is all you need to remember here. Next, is everyone clear with how local magnitude is calculated? Simply log to base 10 of amplitude of ground motion plus distance correction factor, which is taken from this table. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next. So this, I don't know why this slide is here. This is actually one of the questions we'll solve at a later point. Okay. So this is how a typical accelerometer gram will look. I mean, accelegraph will look. So if you look at this here, before this point, Okay, there is this just background noise. So let us assume that this is the point of arrival of P wave. Okay, suddenly there is an increase in amplitude here. Let us assume this is the point of arrival of S wave. Next, what is done to give scale? He says the interval between one horizontal line and the other horizontal line is 1 mm. Okay, so you can use 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can keep calculating to find out the amplitude. Now, looking at this, can you guys zoom and tell me from where to where should I take the amplitude? What is the maximum amplitude I should consider? Should it be from here to here, or should it be from here to here?
First one. From
First
here
one,
to here.
this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, not two things. Say the most important thing to remember here is, in case in an earthquake data, if there is ever a point where it goes from here to here, okay, although before the earthquake is stuck, this might be the mean position, okay, it could have moved, but the most effective ground displacement that this place has experienced is actually from here to here directly. Understood? So when you're taking amplitude of an earthquake, always take from the topmost point to the bottommost point. This is one key thing you need to remember. You cannot take it with respect to the datum. It is always from uppermost point to the lowermost point of the accelerogram. And this is only when you're calculating your local magnitude using this formula. Okay?
Yes,
For
sir.
all other purposes, when we say what is an amplitude, amplitude is the mean displacement of a particle with respect to its original position. That definition still stands. Only when you're calculating the local magnitude of an earthquake, please take the amplitude as from the highest point to the lowest point. Always. Will you guys remember this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Ivaga, can you calculate and tell me how many lines are there in between?
$23.
Okay, 23 mm is the ground displacement. Okay, next you might ask me, sir, time and calculate madadu. Okay, so ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಎಲ್ಲ scale ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? He says from here to here it is 10 seconds. Okay, measure from here to here. ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಂತ? Call this x. If this is 10, what is x equal to? Do ratio, proportion, whatever you want, find out value of x. It will approximately be 5 seconds. You take anything between 5 to 7, I'll give you marks. Okay, because it's very approximate. So this is your delta t time that we'll use to find out the epicentral distance in that formula that we saw yesterday. Clear? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next.
Yes, sir.
This you guys have already written down, correct? Okay. So this is how a graph will look. Okay. As the distance from the epicenter keeps increasing, how does your magnitude vary? So this is a graph. Next, this I've already shown in the table also. How is it related to intensity and magnitude? Maybe what you can do is I'll write down a small formula here. You can use it. Intensity I is equal to 3 by 2 times local magnitude minus 1. Okay. So in the quiz question or somewhere, if they have given you a magnitude of an earthquake, say magnitude is 8.9. Okay. What is the approximate intensity? You'll have to do 3 by 2 into 8.9 minus 1. Whatever value you get. How much do you get? Tell the value here.
5.26.
5.26. Okay, so intensity cannot be 5.26. So what is the closest number?
5.
Okay, so indicate by Roman number 5. Or if you want to, be extra safe and round it off to the higher number, if you write 6 also, I'll give marks. Okay, so intensity should always be a whole number indicated by Roman numbers. Clear? So you can write down this formula also. This formula is again from Bazarnia and Bereto. Maybe if you go to Kramer, he would have proposed a slightly different formula. But if you round off to a nearest number, it will more or less be the same. It is fine. Okay. So after local magnitude or Richter scale magnitude is done, we will move on to surface wave magnitude. Okay. So surface wave magnitude, how it works is, so if this is the epicenter, if the epicenter has occurred here, and this is where you are measuring, or if this is where your accelerometer is placed and you are measuring, you need this angular distance. Okay. So this angular distance is given by delta, and you'll use that delta here. Okay. Finding out surface wave magnitude becomes difficult because one thing, our Earth is not perfectly sphere. It is an oblate spheroid. It's called a geoid. Okay. So to find out the angle of inclination from the center of the Earth to the epicenter and to the point of measurement, it becomes difficult. Okay. So this method is not really used, predominantly. But for now, you can write down this formula. Okay, your surface wave magnitude is given by log to base 10 of A, where A is the same thing, the ground displacement. Difference here is, there it was measured in millimeters, here it is measured in micrometer. Right? Plus the distance correction factor, there it was a standard table that we got delta from the table. Here it is calculated by this number 1.66 times log to base 10 of this angle here, okay, epicenter in degrees, plus 2. Understood? Written down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we move
Yes,
on
sir.
to the next type?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, talk about
Yes,
body
sir.
wave magnitude. Okay. So body wave magnitude is given by this equation. Log to base 10 of A. If you look at all the equations, the first term is more or less constant. Okay, it is always a function of log to base 10 of amplitude only. But here it is arrival of P waves, first thing, and second, as compared to local magnitude, this is in micrometer again, and not in millimeter. Okay. Next, this is your time period of your P wave. You guys know how to get the period of a time history data. We did this in dynamics. We have time history data. We do FFT. Using FFT, we get frequency correct. You do 1 by frequency, you get the time period. So whatever is the time history data, you find out the time period of the wave from that. Okay. Plus 0.1 times delta. So this is the same thing that we used previously. Plus 5.9. Done? Okay. So see, if you look at your syllabus, it is actually very vague. All this is, not even mentioned in detail. I'm only doing it so that we can include a few problems in the unit, because I don't want it to be all theory. Okay. So body wave and surface wave will not really solve any problems because it is very outdated. We'll solve problems for local magnitude and seismic moment magnitude. Okay. Next, coming to the last one, the most accurate method of measuring the magnitude of an earthquake. It is called seismic moment magnitude. Okay. So in local magnitude, what happens is, we assume earthquake has gone, and the ground is shook by certain mm, or whatever the distance is. But in reality, most earthquakes, don't last only for seconds. They stay for a little while. The ground motion happens for a little duration, and then it's gone. So the amount of energy that is released is actually more. And it cannot simply be quantified using this ground motion of certain mm from one place to another place. So this method was developed in Japan, I think, in somewhere around 1977, where something called a seismic moment was found out, and this seismic moment was used to find out moment magnitude of an earthquake. Okay, so seismic moment is a function of this. Okay, your strength of the rock. When I say strength of the rock, it is basically your shear modulus G. Okay, or I don't know, in this PPT we've used mu everywhere. Next, fault area. Okay, so basically if a fault has occurred, I need the width of the fault and the depth of the fault. Okay, so that fault area, so length and depth, I'll get fault area and total amount of slip. I told you what slip is yesterday. So in your elastic rebound theory, if something was like this before, after it will become like this, and then eventually this point will go here and this point will go here. So this thing is your slip. Okay, so to first find out the seismic moment, I need the shear modulus of the rock, the total fault area, and your amount of slip. Okay, once you found out your seismic moment, the moment magnitude is given by 2 by 3 times log to base 10 of this seismic moment, okay, minus 16. Key thing to remember here is when you're substituting seismic moment, it should always be in dyne centimeter only. Okay, if it is in some other thing, you cannot use this formula. And one more alternative to this formula is 2 by 3 times log to base 10 of m naught, okay, close the bracket, minus 10.7. So don't get confused between 16 and 10.7. They've simply taken 16 outside the bracket of this 2 by 3. Okay, so my suggestion is forget this, simply use this formula everywhere. Aita. Next, I'll tell you also again when you're solving the problem. So normally G, what is the unit for G we use?
Newton per mm square.
Okay, Newton per mm square or Newton per meter square. How do I convert a Newton to dyne? Anyone? No one? Okay, I think 1 Newton is 10 power 5 dyne. Okay, and when we have to convert your per meter square to per centimeter square, I have to divide by 10 power 4 again. So if I have to convert something from Newton per meter square to dyne per centimeter square, simply multiply by 10. Okay, or multiply by 10 power 5 divided by 10 power 4. Someone just check this calculation because I did this a while ago, I don't remember. Find out the rate of conversion between Newton per meter square to dyne per centimeter square. I think it's simply multiplying by 10. I thought we'll use it when we come to problem. So now just take down this formula. Took down?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is all. We've actually effectively completed unit 1 completely. Only problems are left. Okay. You know, normally this takes around 6 hours when we do it in a regular class. For some reason, when we're doing it online, more content is getting covered. It's fine as long as you guys have understood. You guys have understood whatever has happened so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then quickly we'll solve the first problem. Okay, ready?
Yes, sir.
Take down the question. It's okay if I send the PPT again. You physically write down the question in your notebook and then we'll solve. Let me know after you've taken down the question. Done? Tell me after you guys are finished. In Agilva, or have you guys already started solving?
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
We'll start then. Okay. So see what all is given. So they've asked us to take the distance correction factor from the table. Okay. They've given us the Young's modulus and the Poisson's ratio. So using Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio, what is the first thing we need to do? Find out your bulk modulus and your rigidity modulus. We'll calculate a formula either. Someone calculate and tell me the value.
G is 60.
G is 60. 60 unit in a.
GPA.
Okay. K is 100.
100 KPA. GPA.
Correct. Everyone got the same value. The others know. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ serial ನೋಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಕುತ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಡಿ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು bring a calculator, sit down, calculate. You have the values. E is how much? E is 150. Substitute E as 150 here. 150 divided by 3 into 1 minus. Poisson's ratio is given as 0.25. Substitute, you should get K as 100 GPA and your shear modulus G as 60 GPA. Everyone got?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next. To find out velocity of P wave, this is the formula. Okay, your bulk modulus plus 4 times shear modulus by 3. The entire thing divided by the density of soil there. Now, what you need to remember here is your specific weight given here is how much? 28 kilonewton per meter cube. Convert this to kg per meter cube. How much do you get?
Wait.
28.
Two 2854.23. 2854.23.
Okay, kg per meter cube. Everyone knows how to convert kilonewton per meter cube to kg per meter cube.
1 Newton is equal to 10.1 kilo.
Okay, so in this case 28 into kilonewton Newton madak 1000 divided by 9.81. Okay, if you do this, you should get that number in other 2854.23. Everyone got?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now go back, substitute in that formula. You know the value for K as 100 plus 4 into G you know as 60. You have to also please include 10 power 9 there. 1 gigapascal is 10 power 9. You guys know, no?
Yes, sir.
Ishpantu VP. What? You're doing something wrong. Check ಮಾಡಿ. I got 7,941.3 meter per second.
Seven nine four one.
Same number.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do VS Sange.
4584.
ಎಷ್ಟು
4584.9.
4584.31.
91.
Okay, 91 meter per second. Okay. Everyone got the same values? I think it's correct. I got 4585 point. Okay, this is fine. Everyone done till here?
Yes, sir.
Everyone? Other class is not even opening their mouth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ah. Okay, next.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next. What was the formula to find out your idu? What is that? Epicenter distance. I'll write here because there is no place. My epicenter distance B was Vp into Vs divided by what? Vp minus Vs into delta T, correct? Okay, you know Vp and Vs. Use Vp and Vs and delta T we'll find out from here. Okay, the same thing ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, from here to here ನಾನು measure ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ let's say I got around 5 seconds. So we'll use delta T as 5 seconds now. In the exam you'll have to do your scale measurement thing. If this is 10, how much is this? Okay, use that, take 5 seconds. For now take 5, tell me the value for
54.24 kilometers.
first tell in meters, then we'll convert to kilometers. 54
54245
24
2.
45
54242.
245.
Okay, so this is in meter. Converts to kilometer, you get D as how much? 54 point. Okay, so this is your epicenter distance. Meaning, from the point at which you are measuring your ground amplitude, the epicenter was located at distance of 54.2 kilometers. Okay, now come to this table. In this table, it says for 50 it is 2.6, for 60 it is 2.8. Do linear interpolation and tell me what is sigma at 54.2. You guys know how to do interpolation?
.68.
Okay, now I got the number. I got 2.689. Okay, so this is your distance correction factor. So next, what was the formula to calculate your moment magnitude? It's here only. So ml is equal to log to base 10 of amplitude. Amplitude we just calculated in the previous slide. How much? 22. Okay, in mm. So log 22 plus this distance correction factor 2.689. How much is it?
$5.78.
4.03.
4.03.
5 point
4.03, sir.
log to base 10, not log to base e.
5.78, sir.
5.78. Sure.
4.03, sir.
4.03.
Yeah, 4.03 is correct. This is wrong. 1 second. 4.03. Okay, is your local magnitude. If I had to find out intensity for this, what formula would I use? 3/2 into ml minus 1. What intensity would you get?
Three.
5. 3/2.
4.5.
2.54. Round it off to the nearest number, higher number preferably. You get 5. So indicate by Roman number 5. Everyone understood this question? Fairly simple. What was given? Young's modulus was given, Poisson's ratio was given. Using that, you had to find out bulk modulus and shear modulus. Using bulk modulus, shear modulus, and your soil density, we found out P wave velocity and your S wave velocity. And using P wave and S wave velocity and difference in time arrival between your P wave and S wave, we found out the epicentral distance. Use that value of epicentral distance to find out distance correction factor. Use the local magnitude formula to find out your local magnitude. So your local magnitude was 4.03. Approximate intensity for the same magnitude is 5. Clear? Any doubts? Everyone's understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can we go ahead? Can we go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question. We'll do problem 2. Okay. Take down the question. Done? ಆಯ್ತಾ? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Take down only the second question. The rest we'll do later. What do I want to do? What? Okay. Okay, what do we have to do now? Find out the seismic moment first. Okay. So for that, what is the formula for seismic moment? M naught is equal to
Mu into it.
yeah, your shear modulus into your area of the fault into what was the last thing?
Total amount of slip.
Total amount of
slip alva. So slip. So first thing, what is the value of G given here?
32 kPa.
Read ಎಷ್ಟು?
32 GPa.
32 GPa. So it's 32 into 10 power 9 Newton per meter square, correct? So
Yes.
if I had to convert this to dyne per centimeter square, like I said, simply multiply by 10, alva. So it is into 10 power 10 dyne per centimeter square. Is this correct? Did someone check? If someone has a phone handy, just Google Newton per meter square to dyne per centimeter square. Next, area. Area, what is given? Length and depth is given.
10 kilometers and 15 kilometers.
Correct. The 15 kilometers long and 10 kilometers deep. Okay, so 10 kilometers long. 10 kilometers in centimeters is how much? Into 10 power? 5. Correct. Kilometer to meter is 1000. Again, meter to centimeter is 100. So So 10 power 5, correct?
Right.
Okay. Into ಇದೆಷ್ಟು ಡೆಪ್ತ್ ಎಷ್ಟು
15 kilometers. 15 kilometer long, 10 kilometer deep.
15 kilometers
15
length.
long.
ಓಕೆ
10
15 into 10 power 5 ಇದು ಮಾಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬರುತ್ತೆ 10 into 15 150 into 10 power 10 centimeter square, correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, slip. ಎಷ್ಟು ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಸ್ಲಿಪ್
30 centimeter.
centimeter 30. Okay. 30 centimeter. Okay. Now everything is in either dyne or centimeter or dyne per centimeter. Substitute all this in this first equation. Tell me the value for m naught.
Point 44 into 10 power 25.
ಎಷ್ಟು
1.44 into 10 power 25 9 centimeter.
1.44
1.44 into 10 power
25.
25. Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dyne unit ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ
Centimeters.
centimeter, correct? So centimeter square cancel ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Dyne will be left and this last centimeter is left. Okay. Now substitute in your moment magnitude formula. What is the formula? Mw is equal to 2 by 3 times log of your seismic moment m naught minus 16, correct? Okay. Substitute in this formula. Tell me the moment magnitude value.
$27.9.
7.43.
7.
43.
Everyone got the same value?
One point something it came, sir. 1.05.
6.105.
6.105.
0.105.
10.
I don't know how to delete this. Okay, I can. What? ಎಷ್ಟು?
0.10.
0.10.
Okay. 6.105. Okay. So this is your, seismic moment magnitude. Done? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the only thing you need to remember. Converting GPA to dyne per centimeter square, and everything need to be in centimeter. Unit consistency. Otherwise, we can't use this formula. Okay. So can we go next problem? Okay. Take down the third one. Take down the third question. So once you take down the table, table alli add, actually you should add 3 more columns. Okay, before sigma what you do is add 1 more column, which is amplitude. Okay, so first amplitude, amel distance correction factor sigma, and then the local magnitude, 3 columns. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One second. Who all are there in the class? The entire class is there. I want Sanjay to tell me the distance correction factor for first point. Okay. Srivatsa for the second point, Pavan for the third point, and Prajwal Gowda for the fourth point. Okay, you have the distances here. Take the 4 distances and tell me the distance correction factor after interpolation. Okay, in the meantime, what we'll do, read the question. They say use geometric mean of amplitudes. Aita, since there is a north-south component and east-west component, but in our local formula, in that ML formula, we have only A, alva. So we have to find out the mean between these two, but they say geometric mean. How to find out geometric mean? What does geometric mean mean?
Root of A to B.
Correct. So if we have 2 numbers A plus B, I mean A and B, okay, A and B. So square root of A into B is geometric mean. What is A plus B by 2?
Arithmetic mean.
Okay. So tell me the geometric mean for all these points. First is square root of 8.4 into 6.
Seven point zero nine.
7.0.
1.099.
Okay. Next point.
8.19.
Is to?
8.19.
Okay. Next.
20.
27.1.
27.111.1.
27.11. Okay. Next.
7.529.
7.53.
Okay. So let's say 7.54. Aita. Next. Distance correction factor ready na? Sanjay.
So ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ sir.
ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ
Sir, show the table for distance correction factors.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes,
Take
thank
this.
you.
For 90, I think you can directly write 3. No need for interpolation. For the others, you tell.
So 3.07.
Okay, 1 second. Let everyone finish off. Are all 4 things done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go back. First one is
3.07.
okay,
3.4.
okay,
3, sir.
okay,
And 3.73.
okay. Now you have amplitude value. You have distance correction factor value. Simply solve. Okay, one more thing. Actually, there was a mistake. This amplitude of seismograph is alva. This is not millimeter. This is micrometer. Okay. Allah, what was this? This is in meter. Okay. This is in meter, not in millimeter. So when you're substituting, multiply with 1000 and then substitute this amplitude into 10 power 3 you do and then substitute. First one ಎಷ್ಟು?
6.92.
ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
6.92.
Okay.
Second one is 7.31.
7.31. Okay.
Third one 7.43.
7.43.
Okay.
Fourth one 3.876.
How much?
3.887.
Okay, fine. Now take the average of these 4 and tell me the value. Normal average, arithmetic.
So the fourth one 7.606.
6.38.
6.38, sir.
6.38.
Fourth one is how much? Fourth one value is wrong, is it? Hello?
Fourth one is 7.61, sir.
Yes, so fourth one is 7.606.
Okay.
Average 7.3.
Average will be
7.31.
7.315.
okay. So this is your magnitude. Now use this and tell me what the intensity is.
4.
How much?
4, sir.
7.31
And sir.
1 into 3 by 2 into
10,
3
sir.
by 2. You get 9.46 something.
9.465.
9.5, sir.
9.469.
We'll go with 10. Okay, clear, understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so any problem that you get will be a permutation combination of this only. If you can solve all these things, you should be able to solve any of the questions. Now the last question there is actually a little above your level, but you guys can take it down and try it. You might have to make an Excel sheet and plot graphs. Do that, and in the next class I'll tell you what attenuation is. I've already made the graphs, so I'll show that and tell you how what works. Okay, so I'll keep it on the screen for 5 minutes. Just take down the last question and give it a try. Done? So you might have to download those journal papers published by those authors in that year. Okay, Google ಮಾಡಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. And then in that paper, see what relationships they've used, and then plot the graphs. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on to the last part, I told you we'll come back to seismic energy in a while. So when an earthquake occurs, an enormous amount of energy is released, okay? So this energy can either be calculated in ergs or joules, whatever you want. So this particular formula that is there on the screen is in ergs, okay? Now what we'll do is we'll take two earthquakes. One of say magnitude say 5, okay? And then we'll take magnitude 6, and then we'll take magnitude 7, okay? So in this equation, if I substitute this value of ms as these magnitudes and find out value of energy, how do I do this? So my energy formula will become Es is equal to 10 to the power of 11.8 plus 1.5 ms, correct? So use this formula. Tell me the energy for the first one when I substitute it as 5.
1.99 into 10 raised to 19.
1.99
into 10 raised to 19.
Okay. For the second case,
6.3 into 10 raised to 20.
6.3 into 10 raised to
20.
Okay. The last one,
1.99 into 10 raised to 22.
okay. Now take ratio of E2 by E1, okay, and then take ratio of E2 by E3. Okay, ulta. Do it for E2 by E1 is correct, and then E3 by E2, okay, and then E3 by E1. Tell me the three numbers.
$31.65 by 1.
No, correct.
31.
This should also be 31.66. The last one must be 1000, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this is what I said initially. So if you were talking about two earthquakes whose magnitude varies by a value of 1, in terms of ground amplitude displacement, it is 10 times more devastating. But in terms of energy release, it is 31.66 more energy released. Okay. So this can work with anything. It can be between magnitude 9 and 10 also, between 8 and 9 also. The energy release is 31.66 times more. Okay. Whereas if you jump one, okay, between say magnitude 7 and magnitude 5, it is 1000 times more. Understood? So basically this 31.66 is square root of 1000 sort of a thing. Done? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this formula also you'll need to remember. So in the question, like all the questions that we just solved, they might first ask you to find out the magnitude of the earthquake, and using that also find out what is the energy released. Okay, so maybe one step you'll have to calculate using this formula. Done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is everyone understood the concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, I think I've already shown you this graph. So on the left side, it shows the earthquakes that have occurred historically. On the right side, it shows an energy equivalent. Okay. And on the left side, if you look at the scale, it is the magnitude of the earthquake. On the right side, if you look at the scale, it is the energy that is released. Okay. So first look at the lowermost value. So an earthquake of magnitude 2, there is about 10 lakh earthquakes that happen whose magnitude is less than 2 every year worldwide. Okay. And this energy that is released is about 56 kilograms of explosive. Okay, and this energy can be compared to a moderate lightning bolt. Okay, if you move a little ahead, go to say somewhere around magnitude 7. Okay, there are examples of magnitude 7 that have occurred. How many earthquakes? About 20 earthquakes per year of magnitude 7 can occur. And look at the amount of energy that's released. Okay, so there's only one recorded earthquake whose magnitude has been greater than 9. Energy that's released there. That is so much worse than even your Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bomb that happened, or the nuclear test that was conducted by USSR that happened. Okay, so this is just a thing, you don't really have to remember this. Next, this is irrelevant for you guys. This is fine. So this is what a modern day seismograph looks like. Okay, in fact, it is an automatically trigger thing. It will always keep taking data. It is never ending. So maybe this one schematic sketch you can take down. Okay, typical diagram as to how an accelerometer works. That is all. With that, we finish unit 1.